A gentle but firm hand shook Azalea awake. Her eyes opened to the quiet sky as her ears picked up the sound of the low fire at her back, still crackling, casting shadows that faded into the desert night. One of her new companions loomed above her. The large gnoll, still wearing his armor, nodded to her calmly. It was time for her watch. The gnoll gestured towards a rock, clearly a makeshift seat he'd created for his watch, before taking up his own bedroll near the others. Azalea watched his lumbering gait past the fire. He was clearly hiding how much pain he was in. Escaping the Molten Lord's territory had cost him dearly. He was lucky to be alive. She wanted to say something, but any attempts seemed to crumble halfway up her throat. In the end, she let him rest. Probably better this way. What would she even talk about? Topography, geology, agricultural patterns. She'd already done that, and she had the sneaking suspicion he had just been humoring her, even if he'd been the one to ask. She plopped herself down on the rock, eyes running over the 5 sleeping bodies illuminated in the flickering firelight. That feeling was still there. She'd hoped it would have been gone when she woke. An apprehension, a sinking feeling, a feeling she'd gone astray. Behind her, the sand welled up into a natural dune, only a few yards past the edge of the firelight. She had to move, had to take her mind off things, and she could still watch from there. Her mother had made her promise to be safe, that she would stay away from danger as best she could until they found each other again. She had kept it, but as days turned to weeks, then to months, then to years, Azalea began to wonder if that had been the last thing she'd ever hear her say. What would she do now that it had been broken? Fear blossomed a lump in her throat, nearly overwhelming her, but Azalea clamped down on it. At the dune's peak, she stood still, gazing out into the expanse. It reminded her of all those long days with her mother, all the lessons she had learned, all the stories and visions of what this land could be. After all this time, she was still amazed at its beauty. It baffled her that so few people could see what she saw, could hear the rhythm she could. But to many, this was a land of emptiness, a vast, barren nothing. But not to her. She closed her eyes, imagining herself hand in hand with the life that hid between the rocks and under the sand. She imagined herself standing vigil over the mountains, mountains slowly born from centuries of strife, pressure, and time. In her vision, she ran through the ridges and grooves of ancient rivers that may have once brought prosperity and community to this land. This place was anything but barren. It was alive, and it told a story. As that familiar rhythm of life crept back into her ears, it felt like she could see her mother again, just beyond the horizon. She imagined herself running to her, falling into her embrace and letting the loneliness melt away. She wanted to stay in that warmth forever. Then her eyes snapped open, and the desert breeze carried the vision away. The rhythm fled like desert mice, and the silence returned without struggle. But the warmth remained. That old feeling was still there. She didn't know if she'd ever see her mother again. But now, she found this new thing flickering by its side. As she returned to her vigil by the fire, she realized she didn't need to imagine the warmth anymore, for she found it now streaming from the 5 sleeping bodies by her side. Even if she'd lost a family, she now had faith she'd found a new one. A family that could lead her home.